Thank you all for listening and watching my videos. Please subscribe and like my channel Master Coolitz. Hoping that you will not skip my ads. It's a big help for me by not skipping it. Thank you so much. Dragon Shadow. The Rise.
The moment the dragon blood sword shattered, Zain Martel stood in stunned silence. His weapon, gone at such a critical juncture, left him momentarily paralyzed. He scanned the area, his eyes locking onto Elena. She immediately understood his silent plea and was ready to throw her Feng Ming sword to him. But Roger Brandt's voice cut through the air, sharp and unyielding.
Zain Martel shall not receive assistance of any sort, or we will announce his defeat.
Elena's heart sank. Her desire to help Zain Martel was thwarted, leaving her feeling helpless and frustrated. She whispered to herself, her disappointment palpable.
Zain Martel, I'm sorry that I cannot help you.
Zain Martel looked up at her, a reassuring smile on his face.
Doesn't matter. Even if I don't have a sword, I can still defeat him.
Dylan Shaw burst into laughter, his voice dripping with sarcasm and amusement.
You can defeat me without a sword? Ha 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 ha. What a joke. Are the good-for-nothings of the Azure Dragon Academy all clowns?
He planted his long stick into the ground, crossing his arms with an air of arrogant superiority.
Then I'll give you 3 moves. Show me how you'll defeat me.
The crowd murmured among themselves, their whispers filled with curiosity and doubt about Zain Martel's abilities. The wind gently tousled Zain Martel's hair as he let the broken sword fall from his hand, his breath steady and calm. He felt the energy around him, the power of the art of sword. During his 10 days of grueling training, Zain Martel had sought advice from Mr. Black in the dragon-swallowing prison. Mr. Black, renowned as the Sword King, had imparted wisdom that had deeply enlightened Zain Martel, pushing him to a new level of understanding. Suddenly, the scene grew silent. Taryn, observing from a floating island, furrowed her brow, sensing something significant.
Zain Martel has comprehended it.
Elena looked puzzled, her voice reflecting her lack of understanding.
What did he comprehend?
Taryn's eyes widened in realization, her voice a mix of shock and admiration.
The second stage of the art of sword, unity of man and sword. And it's more profound than the unity of man and sword that I've comprehended.
In the next moment, Zain Martel's eyes snapped open, twin beams of light piercing the air. He brought his fingers together and slashed through the air. A Cayenne sword energy burst forth, slicing through the void with terrifying speed and power. It hurtled toward Dylan Shaw, its energy so immense it seemed to split the sky itself.
What? Impossible.
Dylan Shaw's face paled. He dodged the attack, fear evident in his eyes. The sword energy struck the ground, shaking the mountain and carving a 10-meter deep gully into the peak. Rocks split apart, the sheer force of the strike leaving everyone in awe. Oh, the onlookers were dumbfounded. They had heard tales of the sword vigor from the Hall of the Holy Sword Disciples, but witnessing it firsthand was beyond their imagination.
Didn't you say that you wouldn't move? Hurry up and bark like a dog, or perhaps making monkey noises suit your appearance better?
Dylan Shaw's face contorted with rage. He sprang into action, forming illusions that surrounded Zain Martel. Long black sticks rained down from all directions, a wave of fiery light threatening to consume Zain Martel. But Zain Martel was undeterred. He summoned the sword glow in his hand, slicing through the illusions while using the wind serpent steps. He moved like a phantom, his steps unpredictable and swift. In that moment, Zain Martel was no longer a mere human. He had become one with the breeze, an ethereal force in the midst of battle. Power of wind. Zain Martel had completely integrated the power of wind into the wind serpent step. Dylan Shaw couldn't even touch the corner of Zain Martel's clothes after hundreds of moves. The crowd gasped, realizing that Zain Martel's strength far surpassed their expectations. Even Mia Quinn, who had underestimated Zain Martel, now looked on in shame. Among the thousands, some wore grave expressions, including Elder Roger Brandt of the Law Enforcement Hall. His eyes nearly bulged out of their sockets as he murmured to himself,
It's the power of wind from the power of nature.
The people around him heard, and a ripple of shock spread through the crowd.
power of wind? Zane Martel has comprehended the power of wind?
No way! He comprehended it so quickly. He's only at the second stage of the intermediate level.
That's right, it can't be wrong. He can't be this strong with his Earth stage skills. It must be the power of wind.
Oh my god, he's a demon. I'm shocked. Is he trying to kill him?
Faces turned red with astonishment. No one dared to look down on Zane Martel any longer. Only Elena and Taryn, new to the Academy, were clueless about the power of wind.
What is the power of wind?
They asked nearby onlookers, who explained the rarity and power of understanding the forces of nature. Typically, only those above the martial spirit level could comprehend it. Fewer than 10 people in Titan Academy had done so at the intermediate level, and they were among the top 10 on the bronze list. Elena looked at Zane Martel in shock, unable to believe what she was seeing. On the mountaintop, Dylan Shaw was still oblivious to Zane Martel's true power, continuing his relentless assault. The ground was riddled with holes, the landscape in ruins. But Zane Martel dodged every attack effortlessly.
I've had enough fun. Can you get to barking now?
Zane Martel sneered, his sword glow pressing against Dylan Shaw's neck, slicing the arteries and sending blood spurting out.
Ah!
Dylan Shaw stumbled back, hands clutching his neck, refusing to surrender. Roger Brandt's voice rang out urgently.
Enough, Dylan Shaw.
Dylan Shaw, thinking Roger Brandt was concerned for him, retorted defiantly.
Elder Roger Brandt, I'm fine. It's just a small wound. I will soon tear Zane Martel apart.
But Roger Brandt's next words stunned Dylan Shaw into silence.
You are no match for him. The challenge today is over. Zane Martel, you will officially join Titan Academy.
Elena and Taryn cheered for Zane Martel, while the onlookers buzzed with excitement over the thrilling turn of events.
Why? I don't want to stop. He must die today.
As Dylan Shaw spoke, a golden glow enveloped him, forming the illusory image of a Titan. The shadow lingered for a moment before shrinking back around him, radiating a fierce, angry aura. The battle wasn't over and the tension was at its peak. What would happen next? The stakes had never been higher. Bang! Vital energy exploded with Dylan Shaw as the center, and the rocks within a radius of 300 meters turned into powder. The air seemed to be compressed, and it was difficult to breathe.
Dylan Shaw's crazy. Elder Roger Brandt has already told him to stop, but he's still attacking.
Zane Martel sure is unlucky. Some people sighed secretly. Roger Brandt stared at the scene unfolding in front of him. He had no time to get angry and went up to Dylan Shaw as soon as possible. If anything were to happen to Zane Martel, Titan Academy would question them for hurting a genius on the Bronze List challenge. Before Roger Brandt could make a move, Dylan Shaw lost all his sanity as the illusion of a Titan surrounded him. He waved his fist to smash Zane Martel's head. Puff! 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 Wind and fire rushed into the sky and the momentum was overwhelming. It was full of thunder and lightning. Wind Serpent Step! Seeing this, Zane Martel immediately used the Wind Serpent Step with the integration of the power of wind. He moved like a snake and easily avoided it. Then he quickly cut Dylan Shaw's limbs. Swoosh! 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 The green sword energy was sharp. The seemingly hard Titan Phantom crumbled and dissipated under Zane Martel's hands. Dylan Shaw spat blood and looked at Zane Martel unwillingly.
You!
Before he could finish his words, he fainted. Roger Brandt saw this and let out a sigh of relief. Finally, he flew in front of Zane Martel, and his attitude had undergone a great change. Zane Martel was stunned. For a moment, he did not understand why Roger Brandt's attitude had changed so much.
I'm fine, but Dylan Shaw is not.
Roger Brandt glanced at Dylan Shaw. He frowned and did not pay much attention to him. Instead, he continued to show his concern for Zane Martel's safety.
Don't worry, Dylan Shaw's cultivation method is unique. He will be fine from this little injury. On the contrary, I am more worried about you. But you can rest assured that you are now a disciple of the Titan Academy since you've already comprehended the power of wind. If someone asks, don't say that I'm making things difficult for you. I was only doing things to the best of my ability.
Roger Brandt stuffed a golden token into Zane Martel's hand, while others were not paying attention. Zane Martel was confused. When he was fighting with Dylan Shaw, he didn't know how much trouble the power of wind could cause. He didn't know how much Titan Academy cared about such a genius. Although he did not know what the token was, it was not something ordinary. At this moment, Elena and Terran flew down and trotted towards Zane Martel.
Zane Martel, you've entered Titan Academy. That's great. I was worried when I saw you fighting with them earlier.
It turns out that you are so much stronger than I thought. Please protect me in the future.
Terran patted Zane Martel's shoulder and said. The beautiful Elena smiled and congratulated him as well. Roger Brandt saw that the two were so familiar with Zane Martel and ordered. Do you know each other? Well, that makes it easier for me. Give him a tour of the surroundings and go through the formalities.
Do you know each other? Well, that makes it easier for me. Give him a tour of the surroundings and go through the formalities.
Elena and Terran brought Zane Martel as they strolled around Titan Academy. Titan Academy was much larger than he had imagined. Runes covered the place, protecting it from invasion. In addition, Titan Academy held lectures to give its disciple guidance on cultivation, unlike the 4 major academies. After following the two and completing his registry, Zane Martel invited them to the place where he was assigned to. His new residence was not as his old one. It used to be a courtyard, but now he only had one room, which was simple and crude. In the hall, Zane Martel asked the two about what had happened after they entered Titan Academy. Terran became interested and kept talking, while Elena sneered. It had been a long time since Zane Martel had enjoyed such a leisurely time. He laughed non-stop. Suddenly, Zane Martel's expression became much more solemn as he asked,
Have you seen Alora since you came in?
Elena and Terran looked at each other and shook their heads. They had heard about what had happened to Alora, who also joined Titan Academy.
No, we have also inquired about it, but there is no news at all.
Zane Martel was a little disappointed. Since Alora was in the Titan Academy, they would meet sooner or later. Suddenly, Terran asked,
Zane Martel, what is the thing that Elder Roger Brandt gave you?
It broke Zane Martel back to his senses. He hurriedly took out the token and showed it to the two of them. I almost forgot if you didn't tell me. It's a token, but I don't know what it uses.
I almost forgot if you didn't tell me. It's a token, but I don't know what it uses.
It is the symbol of the Soulful Pavilion. Looks like Roger Brandt has paid a huge price to curry favor with you.
Looks like I will have to rely on you in the future. You are one of the few people we have met in Titan Academy.
Soulful Pavilion? What is that?
Soulful Pavilion is a forbidden area in Titan Academy. Only those who have tokens can enter.
Elena explained. It turned out that the Soulful Pavilion was famous. It was a treasured place in Titan Academy. It was filled with vital energy and contained a rich amount of power of nature. Even the top 10 on the bronze list would rush to the Soulful Pavilion to comprehend the power of nature. Zane Martel stayed at his residence for 2 days. On the 3rd day, he was familiar with Titan Academy and made his way to Soulful Pavilion. Soulful Pavilion was a huge attic with 7 floors in total. 2 Titan stone statues stood by both sides of the door. The Titan stone statues pounded their chests, looking fierce. When he entered, he saw a young man at the 3rd stage of the intermediate level standing guard inside. The moment he saw Zane Martel's unfamiliar face, he asked,
Not anyone is allowed into the Soulful Pavilion. Do you have a token?
Zane Martel handed the token to the other party. After confirming that the token was authentic, the other party gave Zane Martel a palm-sized stone and said,
Take this stone and go to the Elemental Monument on the 2nd floor to practice. There are 10 points of prime energy in it, and you can stay for 10 days. A kind reminder, don't let others steal it from you.
Steal it from him? Zane Martel was confused. He picked up the rock and walked to the 2nd floor. After walking through the crooked path, he arrived in front of the Elemental Monument that the person had mentioned. The monument was 5 meters tall and 2 meters wide. It was purple and surrounded by abundant vital energy. He noticed around 10 rooms in the area, and 9 of them were occupied, leaving 1 vacant. After the door was closed, Zane Martell sat down and placed a few bottles of medicinal pills in front of him as he attempted to break through. In the Soulful Pavilion, Zane Martell was on the brink of breaking through to the third stage of the intermediate level.
I'm so close I can feel it.
Raising his head, he swallowed a bottle of the 3 Souls pills and started meditating.
The 3 Souls pill is not strong enough. It seems that I need to prepare a new elixir.
He felt as if he was about to break through using the Dragon-Devouring Emperor technique.
The power of nature is calling me.
His body continued to devour the surrounding vital energy. Because he was close to the elemental monument, the vital energy in the room was more than 10 times that when he was outside. All of his pores opened and greedily devoured it.
I've done it. I've broken through to the third stage of the intermediate level.
Feeling the joy brought about by the increase in his strength, Zane Martell did not wish to leave.
Comprehending the power of nature is key. Only then can I truly become stronger.
Having tasted the sweetness of the power of wind, Zane Martell had truly understood that martial arts techniques were merely techniques.
Power of nature is the true essence. I've made some progress, but I still need to try harder.
However, Zane Martell did not gain anything no matter how hard he tried.
7 days are probably not enough. Maybe I'll try for another 2 days.
2 days later, Zane Martell picked up the stone and left. He was about to exchange for the token when he saw a big man standing guard outside the door.
Hand over the elemental stone.
Zane Martell looks at David Chen with a frown.
Why?
Because my fist is bigger.
The big man tightened his fist and punched at Zane Martell.
Bang.
As the sound came, the big man stepped back and fell to the ground. Then he looked at Zane Martell with a different expression.
Impossible. You're only at the third stage of the intermediate level. How is that possible? Who are you?
I'm Zane Martell.
I don't know that name.
The large man shook his head. He didn't recognize Zane Martell. Not everyone went to watch him challenge the Titan Academy's bronze list. Hence, it was normal that they didn't recognize him.
Let me tell you, my name is David Chen. Brad, ranked 7th on the bronze list, is my younger brother. If you don't want to cause trouble, hand over the elemental stone.
What will Zane Martell do next? The 7th place on the bronze list was powerful enough to make most students in Titan Academy lose their colors. David Chen used this technique to rob countless people of their elemental stones. To be more precise, he threatened them. This might have worked on others, but not Zane Martell.
So this is the so-called robbery.
Zane Martell understood why the disciple had warned him when he first came to Soulful Pavilion. So that was why. However, what did Brad have to do with him? So what if he was ranked 7th on the bronze list? Seeing that Zane Martell did not have the slightest intention of handing over the elemental stone, David Chen decided to snatch it. The force of thunder and lightning erupted from David Chen's body. Waves of yellow lightning lingered around him as he let out a furious roar in a flash. He was quick. However, Zane Martell was even faster. The instant David Chen made a move, Zane Martell used the Wind Serpent Step and the power of wind. Bang! A low and deep voice rang out, followed by a terrifying force. The power spread along the 8 extraordinary meridians to his limbs and bones, shattering all his bones. David Chen's body flew backward, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The sound of the fight soon attracted a crowd of onlookers.
Is David Chen bullying the weak and seizing their elemental stones again? Eh? Why is he the one on the ground? Did he finally meet his opponent?
Look, it's Zane Martell.
It is Zane Martell. He got into big trouble as soon as he came in. He attracts trouble wherever he goes. I don't think Brad will let him go easily.
They were complaining. After breaking through in the power of wind, Zane Martell's senses improved. Naturally, he had also heard the contents of their words. But since he had already entered Titan Academy, he didn't need to be afraid. He walked up to David Chen, took off his storage ring, and rummaged through it. He took out a few elemental stones, intending to borrow them for a few days.
You can't take them. I worked so hard to collect them.
David Chen hugged Zane Martell's foot, his voice filled with desperation. Gritting his teeth,
A lot of effort? You stole them. If you can steal others, why can't I take yours? Get lost.
Zane Martell ignored David Chen and slapped him until he fainted. After returning to the first floor, Zane Martell used his elemental stone to retrieve his token. After pouring out 5 elemental stones, the disciple was stunned. He stared at Zane Martell with wide eyes and asked curiously,
"Why do you have so many? Who did you steal them from?"
In the Soulful Pavilion, the competition for elemental stones had always existed and was acquiesced by the sect, so it was not surprising. It was Zane Martell's first time here, but he had obtained so many of them, it was unusual.
I think his name is David Chen. I don't quite remember.
Upon hearing David Chen's name, the disciple gasped and urged Zane Martell to take the elemental stones back.
"If it's David Chen's stuff, hurry up and return them to him. I'm doing this for your own good. Do you know that his younger brother, Brad, is one of the top 10 experts on the bronze list? Do you want to die?"
Top 10 on the bronze list. If he was at the second stage of the intermediate level, he might be a little afraid. However, since he had broken through to the third stage, there was nothing to be afraid of. As long as the other party came at him, he would fight back. He didn't care who they were. But little did he know the challenges awaiting him would test his newfound strength and resolve like never before. Would he be able to stand against the wrath of Brad?